Fluffy clouds dot the sky above a sprawling terrain with many rivers. Text: Restoring California's Great Estuary, a map showing San Francisco and Sacramento. Text: the Sacramento-San Joaquin Delta and Sassoon Marsh. Bill Harrell speaks.
The Delta of today is highly changed from what it was naturally. Back in the 1800s, before the gold rush and the resulting population boom in the state, the Delta was a dynamic and wild system of tidal wetlands, riparian forests, and vast seasonal floodplains. As the state has developed, we've lost these critical habitats at alarming rates. The real loss has been to our aquatic and terrestrial ecosystems, the native fish, birds, and wildlife that depend on these habitats to survive.
Allison Collins.
The significance of the Delta extends well beyond its legal boundaries. It's the heart of California's water supply and serves millions of residents, agricultural lands, and businesses all the way from the Bay Area to San Diego. Our health, the health of the environment, and the security of our water supply all depend on this Delta.
Jacob Katz.
California is the 5th largest economy on Earth. And what's that economy run on? It runs on water. So why would someone, in one of our big cities care about fish or levees in the upper Sacramento Valley? And the answer is simple, because with updated water infrastructure, we have a functioning river system. And a functioning river system means that we have robust, healthy populations of fish. And that means that we're better able to pass water to our farms and to our cities and have a more secure water supply for California and California's economy.
Text: California Eco Restore, Accelerating Habitat Restoration. Mike Roberts.
The Eco Restore initiative began 3 years ago as a means of placing additional emphasis on some long-standing project implementation needs. The goal was simple and ambitious: 30,000 acres of habitat restoration and enhancement within 5 years. This is basically a doubling of the amount of habitat that's out there on the ground now. In 2018, the initiative and all the partners it collaborates with broke ground on 5 projects that stretch 70 miles across the Delta. These projects remove barriers to fish migration that have been in place for 100 years, establish new tidal and wetland habitats, and increase the amount of forest along our rivers for birds and other species as well.
Christopher Journal.
DWR is the lead agency on the majority of Eco Restore projects, and that simply reflects DWR's ongoing commitment both to our mitigation responsibilities that are connected to the long-term operations of the state and federal water project, but also our obligation and our responsibility to pursue habitat restoration for habitat restoration's sake. We're not striving just towards 30,000 acres of restoration. Acreage is great, but if you're a fish, if you're an upland mammal, if you're a bird, what you really care about is ecosystem function. And that's truly what we're going for through the Eco Restore program. It's how all these projects link together on the landscape with what's already out there and what's planned for the future.
With Eco Restore, it created a situation where it was a priority for the state. It wasn't just an agency within the state, it was a statewide mandate to get this habitat restoration done. And that makes all the difference in the world. It creates a situation where everybody's working more closely together and with a common purpose.
Carl Wilcox.
And so I think maintaining a program like Eco Restore is a critical factor. Without that, we go back to what we saw before Eco Restore, where things just kind of move along gradually and don't happen very quickly, if at all.
Carlin Emeth.
Not only is Eco Restore providing a common purpose for the department, but it's prompting us to take an important look at how we implement our habitat restoration in the Delta. Integration of ecological principles into project planning, design, and operations is critical to the work that we do. And nowhere is that integration more important than here in the Delta.
Campbell Ingram.
So the Delta Conservancy has a dual role, essentially, to do ecosystem restoration as well as economic development in the Delta. And one of the things that we strive to do is integrate the local interest and voice into the planning for restoration in the Delta over time.
Text: The Future of Delta Habitat Restoration. Dalit Sweck, Director of Conservation.
The Nature Conservancy has been active in the Delta for about 20 years. And it's really interesting within that 20 years what we've learned. And so the question is, what do we do moving forward? And the Nature Conservancy or the state are not going to be able to do this by themselves. As we see on McCormick, Williamson, and other projects, it's going to be a partnership. It has to be a partnership between landowners, the state, the Nature Conservancy, and other organizations that work in the Delta.
Perhaps the most valuable aspect of the initiative is the alignment among California's conservation leaders. This alignment leads to prioritization of scarce resources towards these priority projects and demonstrated on-the-ground results.
John Kane.
When you study ecology and you design a restoration project, it forces you to ask, what did the site used to look like? So we developed this idea, along with the Department of Water Resources, of multi-benefit flood management projects that not only provide flood risk reduction benefits, but at the same time give more room to the river.
Wade Crowfoot.
The Delta is unique in so many ways. Home to historic towns, generations of Californians, vibrant agriculture, treasured for a range of recreational opportunities. It's also a biodiversity hotspot, the largest estuary in the Western Americas and home to hundreds of species. At the same time, it's a microcosm of the challenges we face in California, including climate change and its impacts on our natural environment, as well as ecosystem decline. Eco-Restore is a big idea and an ambitious approach to address these challenges head-on, and it represents the type of win-win strategy that we need in California. How do we restore and protect our environment for the benefit of fish and wildlife in ways that work for local communities? It exemplifies a new approach that Governor Newsom has talked about, which sets aside old binaries. It's not fish versus farms, it's fish and farms. It's not north versus south, it's one California. Moving forward, Eco-Restore really represents and symbolizes what we will be advancing in California, water and environmental policy that works for everyone.
Text, California Eco-Restore, a stronger Delta ecosystem. Produced by Department of Water Resources, State of California.